Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your Tru Heel Phenom SP3. We are back once again. It's been 2 weeks. We've had off, we had the holidays. Happy belated Thanksgiving and happy holidays. Get ready to do a lot of shopping. It is our weekly podcast, Tru Heel Heat 102. On this edition of Tru Heel Heat, we will be discussing all of the latest wrestling news, including week 56 of the Wednesday Night Wars, with quite possibly the most noteworthy wrestling TV show of the year and possibly of the decade, with AEW Dynamite's Winter is Coming, featuring the return to TNT of a WCW alumni and WWE Hall of Famer, and AEW Impact Wrestling Invasion Angle. Hit the alarms, all that good stuff, and as well as the go home show for NXT Takeover War Games. We're also going to be discussing WWE's Backstage Dynamics and Chaos on Monday Night Raw, fallout from Survivor Series 2020, and preview and predictions for NXT Takeover War Games this Sunday. I am back once again with the princess of all the true heels, the lovely, the beautiful Miss Krssi Luv.
Hello. I hope everyone didn't get fat over the holidays. I hope you're all spending all your money and having a good time being safe and wearing masks.
Be safe. It's a crazy time, but you gotta wear your mask over your nose and your mouth, ladies and gentlemen. We'll do tutorials probably later.
Right.
Our resident Tru Heel alcoholic top guy JJ could not join us on this edition. He is busy being a working man. He is in the retail business, so it is a busy time for that gentleman. So we send our thoughts out to him, and we wish he was here with us. But we got someone to fill in his shoes. Our most watched or most appearances of any Tru Heel Heat guest that we have ever had, all the way in Chicago, Illinois. It is the man of 1,004 numbers, the host of Dark Power. Happy 1 year anniversary to that review show. It is the one, the only StatKing.
Thank you, sir, for that introduction. Glad to be back. We just had the 1 year anniversary of Dark Power. And if you guys join me, I know, Sid, you were on the call for that anniversary show. But at that show, we announced that the return of Blunt Impact. And just a week later, I'm wishing I hadn't given away Blunt Impact Wrestling back to Chris G. We will be talking definitely about what is going on with all of that. But, just incredible. Thanks, guys, for having me. And I appreciate it as always.
What a time it is to be a wrestling fan and to do review show on wrestling shows. We get the batons passing, and it seems like Chris G's got a hot baton after last night. But we have to start off this show with some somber news. We want to send our thoughts and prayers to the family of WWE Hall of Famer, WWE legend, Pat Patterson, who passed away this week, the first ever Intercontinental Champion, one of the real masterminds of the creative process in WWE, responsible for so many great matches like Hogan and Warrior, the Iron Man match between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, and of course the brainchild, the man that came up with the concept that we now know as the Royal Rumble. So we got to send out our thoughts and prayers to his family. Quickly, guys, your first Pat Patterson memory that you think of now that he's not with us. Krssi Luv?
Being a part of the corporation, being one of Vince McMahon's goons, and always getting thrown to the wolves to help guard or save Vince McMahon. Those are one of my fondest memories of him. him and what's his name? Damn it! Why am I
Gerald
losing
Briscoe.
Briscoe, yeah.
Yes, him and Briscoe, Patterson and Briscoe, funny. And then you had Jim Ross and King on commentating about them two coming down with him. Good memories. Rest in peace. Condolences to his family. And I love the little package that they did for him last night. It was very, very nice.
Yes, the Frank Sinatra My Way, his legendary performance on Legends House on the WWE Network, and he's very known for his karaoke sessions. How about you, StatKing?
I would also say being the stooge for Vince McMahon. But one thing that will definitely stick out to me is when he at WrestleMania 31, when he is the one who comes out with the Intercontinental Championship for the ladder match. That WrestleMania now has interesting meanings for other reasons, but as we're going to get to. But when it came to Pat Patterson, the Intercontinental title, that's kind of something with me that sticks with the kind of revitalization of the Intercontinental title when Daniel Bryan is winning it, and all of that. Just that to me was kind of the start, or maybe not the start, but kind of an important piece of bringing back prestige to the Intercontinental title. So that's always a moment that also sticks out for me.
For sure, Pat Patterson will be missed by us all in the wrestling fandom as well as the industry. A lot of great tributes. The Rock really praised him for being a big part of his career, helping him out when he was younger and helping his rise in the WWE. So definitely go out of your way to go on social media and see all those great tributes. Sami Zayn, one of my favorites, talking about Patterson's reaction to him winning the NXT title. So a lot of good ones for you go out to see. This edition of Tru Heel Heat, though, is brought to you by our friends over at Wrestling Travel. And of course, you can also, besides watching us on YouTube and listening to us on all your favorite audio platforms, you can now watch Tru Heel Heat on Powered 4 TV, one of the top UK streaming sites. You can become a subscriber. We are right now free on Powered 4 TV, so you could just sign up for a membership and you can see Tru Heel Heat on that website. If you don't want to see us on YouTube, you have another outlet, especially for all of our great fans, the great community in the UK. Praise to you guys. And we start off every Tru Heel Heat with our Tru Heel roll call, talking about our community of great wrestling fans on social media as well as here on YouTube and all the audio platforms. Our Tru Heel roll call, we start off things with the top 3 conversation starters, or as I like to call them, the Negro Bucks of Nick Jackson. Coming in at number 3 is the New Japan aficionado James Wims. Coming in at number 2 is from Team Awesome Lorenzo Dozer. And coming in at number 1 is Charlie Layton. Of course, we have to always shout out our main man, the Negro Buck Nick Jackson, our retired jersey of the conversation starter. So shout outs to everyone who's on our top 3. And the Tru Heels that we got to shout out: Dale Young, Kyle Green, Dave Newman, Maddie the Hot Scott, one of our new subscribers on our YouTube channel, who's following us over from Wrestling Daily, one of the best ultra tracks and hot takes and good eggs over on Wrestle2 YouTube channel. Shaya Silstein, who is following us on the Twitter machine. So shout outs to all of you guys. Our YouTube subscriber highlight, of course, we got the king of the comment section himself, Kayfabe Tactics, saying about True Rewind 31. Started up Clash right now, but I had to stop and talk about the piece of shit fan during the Malenko Wright match that kept jumping up and down in front of anyone. Pissing me off so much, LOL. I want someone to punch him in the back of his head. Anyway, I think this is going to be a good show. Can't wait to finish it and hear your thoughts. And then his next comment says, yeah, this wasn't a good clash, but your show was great, like usual. Kayfabe Tactics always putting out his raw emotions. You gotta love him for that one. Shaw Powers commented on J News Japan episode 54 that Doki is in the running for MVP of the New Japan Pro Wrestling Best of the Super Juniors tournament. He says the tournament has been better than expected, and here's a tip that I tried during Power Struggle. I had Japanese commentary playing on the TV and English commentary on my phone. It made the viewing experience a way better because you get the excitement of Japanese commentary and the information from English. So good tip for you guys who...
That's a pretty interesting way of doing it.
Yeah, you get the raw emotion of the Japanese commentary and the information, the stuff that you need to know from the English commentary. So that's a smart move for sure. Brian Guerrero, Krssi Luv, actually commented on our Dark Side of the Ring Chris Benoit documentary review this past week, and he said that love your guys' review. I thought it was genuine and honest. This tragedy has affected so many fans in the wrestling community and the families and wrestlers around who knew Chris and Nancy. So thank you, Brian, for going all the way back to April when we did that great review of Dark Side of the Ring, the Chris Benoit episode. Yeah, exactly. Better late than never, my good sir. We love when people go back to the archives and check out our old videos. So, and that was definitely one that we put a lot of work into and loved. So we are filming this. Maybe by the time we are done with this podcast, we will have your favorite time of the show where we can give you the numbers for the Wednesday Night Wars between AEW Dynamite and WWE NXT. But I am sorry, folks. We can't even go through what we missed. We missed about 2 weeks with you guys. We will get to what we missed with Survivor Series 2020, Raw, SmackDown, and all the other great wrestling shows. But we are starting things hot and heavy with what happened on week 56 of the Wednesday Night Wars and probably the biggest AEW Dynamite of 2020 and probably of all time. AEW Dynamite, of course, had the big news, which is Sting making his AEW debut, returning to TNT for the first time in 19 years, making the save for the Nightmare Family, staring down Arn Anderson, his former rival, Dustin Rhodes, Cody Rhodes, and then finally Darby Allin. Such a great moment, goosebump inducing. Kenny Omega defeated Jon Moxley to win the AEW World Championship in a great main event matchup with the help of Don Callis and a microphone. And then after the match, Callis and Omega, after screwing Moxley, ran out of the building with Don saying that Kenny will explain himself this Tuesday on Impact Wrestling. AEW Impact Wrestling crossover invasion angle. Yes, big, huge news. One of the biggest news of the year. We also, on this episode, had MJF and Orange Cassidy being the final two for the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal that progressed the Hangman to Dark Order story, elevated Miro with his performance, added to the Inner Circle dissension. Jericho also defeated Kazarian despite Sammy and MJF fighting over a towel on the outside, with Jericho saying that the Inner Circle will either disband or work together after next week. And Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker had a pull-apart brawl following Britt's win over Layla Hirsch in just a jam-packed show. That was everything that happened, and it's a couple of lines deep. Over on NXT, solid build up for War Games, but not as much noteworthy stuff. But they did have Shotzi Blackheart defeating Raquel Gonzalez in a ladder match to gain the War Games advantage for Sunday, with Io Shirai revealing herself as the final member to Team Shotzi. We had Pat McAfee cut another money promo. I said money because he equals money.
Yes, I have to agree. Unfortunately, I as much as I hate to, but he killed it on the mic yesterday. I'm sorry.
You're coming around. The
I don't want to, but I have to. It's my job. You know?
The Undisputed Era also had a really good video package to hype up their War Games matchup with the Team McAfee. Timothy Thatcher laid out Tommaso Ciampa with the help of his new student, Russ Taylor, to set up their match at War Games. The Grizzled Young Veterans and Imperium had a solid match, ending with Everrise interfering, and Leon Ruff and Damian Priest team to beat Legado del Fantasma to build up the North American title triple threat with Johnny Gargano on Sunday. I don't even know if it's fair to ask this question, but I will anyway. Krssi Krssi Luv, what was the better show this week?
This is not fair. I mean, come on. AEW.
What was the highlight? What was the main thing that had you talking after this episode of Dynamite with Winter is Coming?
Winter is Coming, the whole snow, and then Sting comes out with the t-shirt, the bat, him being in front of Darby Allin just like gave me like, because I turned my head for like 2 seconds, and then I'm looking on my computer, and then I was like, is that Sting? That's Sting. Oh, that's Sting. Oh yeah, that was my reaction, and I couldn't look at NXT for a good 20 minutes because I was too focused on what happened with Sting and just reading online and just going through everything. And then, but they had a good solid finish for NXT. And then the build up for War Games because they didn't have much of a build up, to be honest.
I mean, it was a pretty good build up over the last couple of weeks for War Games, but it's hard when you got a main event pay-per-view quality Dynamite that you're going up against. StatKing, I'm not going to even ask you. We know your thoughts on NXT and AEW, what side of the war you stand on, but I will ask you, what was your thoughts on Sting's return to TNT for the first time in 19 years?
I think that for all of the flack that Tony Khan has gotten in the past for saying, this is the best Dynamite ever, or I still have aces up my sleeve, and this, that, and the other thing that he has said, and some of the delivery has felt underwhelming compared to how much he has hyped it up. This definitely hits the bar. This definitely reaches the point of this is an ace up your sleeve, or I guess maybe a baseball bat in the trench coat. But definitely, this is something that we may have, in a sense, we may have seen coming. We saw Darby in the build up to Darby and Cody. We saw Darby chilling in the rafters. It may not have had the same effect as when Sting was doing it back in WCW because Sting was doing it against the NWO, like a real legitimate heel faction, and Darby's doing it against Cody, who isn't really a heel. But it had that same kind of connection. We already have the face paint. So I just like the general idea of them pairing up guys and gals with legends or people who are going to be able to help them or assist them. Whether they are definitely going to pair Darby with Sting, we don't know. But damned if it doesn't make you want to watch everything that happens on Tuesday.
Well, yeah. What channel does that come on? Because now I got to watch this now.
Well, we will talk about that. I want to ask you, Miss Krssi Luv, what do you think about Sting signing a multi-year deal with AEW, and he's going to be a regular character on their TV? They didn't necessarily say that he's going to be wrestling regularly, but he is going to be a fixture on AEW Dynamite. So where do you see his role being? Do you see it like StatKing kind of allude to him being a manager for Darby Allin? I even talked about on Wrestling Travels podcast, maybe him possibly being an authority figure. So where do you see Sting kind of settling in his role?
I see more of an authority figure, a mentor, someone that's going to guide the younger athletes, keep them and show them the ropes, maybe hopefully something good. How old is Sting, by the way?
He's 61.
Wait. He's 60? I thought he was in his 50s. What?
Nope.
OMG. Wow. Okay, so yeah, he really needs to kind of stay clear of the ring. I don't need him to break anything right now. But if he can be a great mentor and just guide these kids, that'd be great. Just to see his face is just fine. But yeah, when I see him stand, I was like, after I got this, I was like, wait, how old is Sting? Ain't he in his 50s or something? I was like, he need to retire like The Undertaker did. But I'm here for all of it. I can't buy a ticket now because we're still in quarantine and we're, pandemic. But if this shit is all over by next year, I will go.
Yes, I mean, I'm not too 100% on Sting being in the ring a lot. I did like what Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, he kind of talked about how Sting will kind of be used as a character. He won't be doing a lot of bumps. He won't be necessarily wrestling too much. But I can see Sting in like a tag team match. I could see Sting maybe occasionally once a year in a singles match if he signed for like 2-3 years. I can get Sting versus Jericho, Sting versus Cody. That would be nice. He can be a catalyst for Cody to finally make the heel turn, and maybe we see Cody lead his own 4 horsemen. There's potential there with Sting's history on TNT. But how would you describe your feeling during that moment when you heard "It's Sting" from the voice of WCW, Tony Schiavone, StatKing?
It's got a feeling to it. It's got, and then when they were playing that intro video, as soon as I saw the crow, like I'm sitting with my girlfriend, and I'm thinking, my first thought is, there's no way it's going to be Sting. I was like, I automatically think crow, I think Sting when it comes to wrestling. I'm like, no, it can't be. So then as it shifts to other images in the video, I'm thinking, okay, what can I see elsewhere that might give me a clue? Because I really don't think it's Sting. And then it is Sting, and then you hear that Tony Schiavone. Wow, just well done on their part. And if you read, I think it was Matt or Nick tweeted out something about the backstage process of keeping Sting, behind wraps until they, have him show up. That, just well done on all of them, because that's something you got to really play close to the chest. You don't want anything getting leaked out, and they did a very good job. So yeah.
Yeah, Matt kind of talked about how they kept him under wraps. They didn't bring him out until that very last moment, right before the video package played.
Like how long they had this brewing? You know how you have your stuff brewing on the pot? Like how long they had this thing? Did they have him come through a secret door? Like was he in a black coat over his head so no one could see who he was? I need to see that
probably in a trailer somewhere. Probably.
Yeah, I need to see all of that, that whole behind the scenes, whole build up to him getting there, what was the talks about, him and Cody and all of them sitting down. I need to see all of that, tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think it's a shame that Top Guy couldn't be with us on this episode, because he loves his surprises, and the fact that this wasn't leaked. This was talked about prior to Full Gear, and after Full Gear, I guess everybody just kind of forgot about that talk that was there, and it was the perfect time to kind of bring him in, and this was really one of the best surprises of 2020, right up there with the Edge surprise, right up there with Roman returning at SummerSlam and being a heel. Great stuff. But yeah, of course, we gotta talk about the other big news. Kenny Omega, the new AEW World Champion, and he will appear on Impact Wrestling on Access TV this coming Tuesday. Yes, Krssi.
Okay, so first of all, I did not know who that gentleman was when he sat down with those people. With Tony and Jim. I'm like, who the hell? I don't watch. I'm sorry, I don't watch Impact. I only watch it for the special events when I have to, and I'm gotta work. So again, I was like, who is this guy? And I just went with the flow because again, I'm watching both. I'm watching both shows, and I'm like, all right. Then I seen him proceed to go to the ring, but then you finish doing what you're doing, and I'll talk afterwards.
Yes, Don Callis, who is the VP for Impact Wrestling, former commentator on New Japan Pro Wrestling, but he's actually also the man responsible for Okada versus Jericho that happened in New Japan. If you didn't know, just listen to any interview this man does. He mentions it about 41 different times, and Tony Khan has even credited the Jericho Omega matchup in New Japan for being responsible for the creation of AEW. So this was huge news. Callis actually did an interview recently that said if it wasn't for AEW that Omega would be in Impact Wrestling, and my God, it's coming to TV, and it is an angle now. And I think I've said it on a couple of different podcasts. I think I've even said it here when we talked about Callis being on commentary for Page versus Omega at Full Gear, that he is the Bobby the Brain Heenan to Omega's Ric Flair. He is the JR to his Stone Cold Steve Austin, in a commentator that just is so much of a fan. But now he seems to be transitioning into that managerial role So, and this was just perfect timing. This was great for Moxley because this is Moxley's first loss in AEW, and it was tainted. He was screwed basically, so he still is protected in this loss. And it was a great match. I don't care what anybody says. It started off a little bit slow, but that final 10 minutes just had you in. It was hard hitting. Moxley came up bloody, and I think it was a loaded microphone. It seemed like it wasn't a legit microphone. It seemed like it was a gimmicked microphone, bloody Moxley like that. But just a great finish that sets up so much and really had the wrestling world buzzing. So what was your thoughts on that finish and the end of Jon Moxley's title reign, StatKing?
All right, so if you have been watching Dark Power for some time, I have been preaching from the rooftops one word: synergy. And because I have been reviewing AEW Dark, then Impact Wrestling, and then UWM and NWA. All those shows on Tuesdays. And we've seen cross-pollination from people on UWN showing up on AEW Dark. We've seen Peter Avalon showing up on UWN as part of their world title tournament. But the only thing I didn't see was something happening with Impact. And I kept saying on Dark, this is the moment or this is a time where we can kind of kick that door down, get away from this sense of you are you, I am me, and get back to, in a way, a digital kind of territory system, similar to how the NWA was back in the day. So to have this happen, this is just a great moment, and to be able to then have Callis, who has definitely been the cheerleader for Omega throughout many parts of Omega's career, be the person to help catalyze all of this, really great. It was a moment that you wanted Kenny to win, but if he's going to really embrace this cleaner persona once again, it kind of has to be something underhanded about it. There kind of has to be something dirty about it. How do you do that? Well, you have it through Don Callis. Don Callis is the person who has gotten in his ear. Maybe we'll find out that Don Callis was sitting in the car with him when Adam and he lost the tag titles to FTR, and Kenny was leaving the building, and the Bucks are like, where are you going? What's going on? And he just gets into a car. Maybe we'll find out that from way back then, Callis has been the bug in Omega's ear, who is getting him back to that cleaner persona, back to that just best bout machine kind of person. And if you don't know or aren't fully aware of all the connections between Don Callis and Kenny Omega, like Sid is saying, I encourage you to go back and watch. I was watching it for a completely different reason a couple weeks ago. The IWGP US title match between Kenny and Jay White. And I swear to God, Don Callis is more shocked and upset that Kenny lost the match than Kenny is. And Kenny was the champion. So this is a great moment, I think, for all of us. We're going to be able to finally get this sense of community back together when it comes to wrestling, and we can kind of shy away from the, I like this promotion, I hate this promotion for this reasons. If you don't want to watch, that's fine, but we don't need to necessarily be antagonistic. I mean, I've seen comments on the Squared Circle subreddit that theorize that the reason why AEW Dark, which is the show that I review, has been going on longer and longer and longer is because they're trying to take away viewers from Impact Wrestling. Well, that can't be the case anymore, because they're sending a brand new world champion to Impact Wrestling and telling you to watch. So this is, I just think, a really great moment for everybody involved. And I mean, honestly, as much as I love Sting coming out, I think the ending of the show is what I'm going to remember more about the episode itself, and I'll be thinking back. Okay, yeah, Sting was there, but that's when Kenny turned. That's when all of this started to change. I think this is a big turning point, and I'm just looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. And let's not forget, the Good Brothers are waiting in Impact.
So are you going to remember him winning or running away in the car with the man Don or whatever?
I'm gonna remember everything about the finish, the running away with Don. And that's a good shout, actually. I think I heard it on Wrestle Talk's podcast talking about AEW Dynamite, that there was a black SUV when Omega left All Out, and Callis and Omega on Dynamite left in a black SUV. So you're probably right that Don was probably in the SUV the whole time, and Omega gave the Young Bucks a choice: get in the car with me and go. So was he going to either get in the car with Callis? Was he going to meet Callis? There was also the flight, remember, when he was supposed to have the interview a couple of weeks ago, and he's like, oh, I gotta take this flight, I gotta go and get on this flight. Was he taking a flight to Nashville to meet with Callis and have more discussion? Then we also got the extra layer of John Moxley, who attacked Moxley before the contract signing. Is it someone from Impact? Is it Sami Callahan, maybe his former tag team partner? Is it the Good Brothers, maybe the affiliation in the Bullet Club with Kenny Omega? There's so much to come out of this that you're probably right. This is the thing that everybody should remember, because it's so huge and means such a big thing to being a wrestling fan, and the excitement and the buzz that it created just makes you just so happy to be a fan of wrestling, and it's making you want to go out and see Impact Wrestling, which is an interesting situation. But I will ask you, Krssi, you were a big component, a big supporter of Jon Moxley coming over to AEW. How would you describe his world title run in 2020 and him really getting the ball in AEW, and the fact that he was so protected in this loss? What do you think about his entire title run since February?
Well, I've been saying since he left, he had the hot girl summer, he was just on a whirlwind of a roll. Like, he just was going uphill after, you leave somewhere where you couldn't be your most creative. And I think he's done very well. He's had some good ones and he has some bad ones, but I think overall he was a great first champion. Well, he was the first champion. Second champion. Second champion. But longest, correct me if I'm wrong?
Yep.
So he was a great second champion and longest, and he was very protected his whole run. And most of his stories were good, and I said most of them were not so good. But I think I would
say only the Jake Hager match was the only thing that wasn't so good. Other than that, he's been hitting it out the park as far as feuds and matches. Right.
So yeah, and then he would be working almost every week for the most part. So he's always on. He's always cutting a promo. He was on doing the pay-per-view. So I think he had a very, very good run at their second champion.
Yeah, I would say that he really got given the ball. He is right up there. If he's not your 2020 Wrestler of the Year, he should be in your top 5, top 3. In my opinion, he should be the 2020 Wrestler of the Year. He carried AEW as the face of the promotion, cutting killer promos week after week after week after week. Great feuds with Eddie Kingston, with Brian Cage and Taz, with Chris Jericho in the build-up to Revolution, with MJF on the way to All Out. So he was very consistent, and this was the run that he should have had all those years ago in WWE, for sure.
The times in the rough that always leave and just go on Excel and just go like that.
Yes.
So somewhere in all of this, he found time to make a child with Renee.
And that's why he is winning. He is winning on so many levels. But what are your guys' quick thoughts on our new AEW World Champion, Kenny Omega? Are you a fan of how he won it? And do you think that we are finally going to get the ace cometh of Kenny Omega, the Zenith? And what would you think about the overall story? Because I think the argument that, we're not getting the Kenny Omega of New Japan is a very overrated argument, because if you look at his 2020, he's been in some of the best matches of the entire year, whether it was against Pac in the Iron Man match on Dynamite, whether it was the legendary tag team match with the Young Bucks with him and Hangman Page, countless great TV matches, and now this whole formation of the Cleaner, and what his title reign now is going to mean to not only just AEW but professional wrestling with this angle. What are your thoughts on Omega being the new champion, StatKing?
I definitely want to see how, just because it can't be a New Japan style, just because they're not on New Japan television. They're gearing more towards a Western audience. So I want to see how they blend the New Japan of Kenny Omega with a more Western style Kenny Omega and see how it all works out. I definitely want to see what the interactions are, what's gonna happen with him and the Bucks. We now have a situation where all 3 core members of the Elite are champions. So now that how that dynamic is going to shift, how it's going to play out, whether we're going to see an influence from Kenny on the Bucks to be more of that old school Bullet Club that they used to be, whether the Bucks are going to try to be that kind of guiding light to Kenny, because while Kenny is hitting Moxley with a loaded microphone, we have the Bucks giving Top Flight a shot. We have the Bucks giving TH2 opportunities. We have the Bucks doing things the quote-unquote right way, and we have Kenny doing things maybe quote-unquote the wrong way. So how that dynamic is going to play out, I think that is going to be really, really interesting to see. And I just want to know if we're going to get the return match, maybe at Revolution, with him and John against each other, or if they're going to, move to a different contender, and if so, who that first person is, because that's got to be somebody who can go in the ring with Kenny Omega.
All I know is that I want Hangman Page to be the savior of AEW. If Kenny Omega is the evil heel that has aligned himself with Impact Wrestling, the savior in the end of this whole story should be Hangman Page. I don't think Hangman should be the first challenger. He is the end game. He is the Iron Man. I am the Hangman. So that's
as long as he rides into whatever stadium it is on a horse again, I'm here for it.
Yes,
so.
I'm with you. Yes. He has to ride on a horse, and then he has to get his drink after he gets off the horse, and then go down.
Absolutely.
We're definitely going to have the ability to get, I think, Pac versus Omega, because Pac is somebody who beat Omega at All Out, and now they're going to have a shift because Pac and Death Triangle, it seems, are maybe more towards a face side of things, whereas Kenny's more towards a heel side of things. How that dynamic is going to be in the ring, that'll be something incredible, too.
There's a lot of good things. I mean, like we talked about with this episode of Dynamite, Chris Jericho in the Inner Circle story, we may potentially see Chris Jericho go babyface. So there's definitely a bunch of contenders for Omega, not only in AEW, but also in Impact Wrestling. And that brings me to kind of put a bow on this conversation very quickly. Your number one AEW versus Impact Wrestling dream match that you want to see. I will start things off. I already alluded to it. Moxley versus Callahan. It needs to happen. These two are two hardcore guys. They have so much history in CZW as the Switchblade tag team. So yeah, that one will just be a brutal, bloody type of fight, and I need to see it. So what about you, StatKing?
Well, one, as long as Ken Shamrock's not involved, I'll take it.
Him and Rob Van Dam can't come.
Well, luckily, Rob Van Dam's not with the company anymore. Luckily.
They can't come.
I would be biased and say obviously it should be Rohit Raju, but no, I want to see Kenny Omega versus Eddie Edwards. I think that would have been Kenny Omega versus Trey, but the Rascals are, they vacated the treehouse so that Chris G can take over the lease. So I'm going to have to go with Kenny Omega versus Eddie Edwards.
How about you, Krssi?
Okay, see, I don't know much of the guys over there. So give me about a week or two and I can give you an answer.
I'll let you think about it.
Yeah, I'm excited about the whole merger because now we could probably have like a little like cruiserweight kind of division with the younger guys can maybe get a belt. Since they can like blend these the AEW guys with the Impact guys. I mean, I don't know if anyone's ever said anything of that sort. Like Jungle Boy and Sammy Guevara. Those young guys can probably now get another belt and maybe merge it over with the two.
Hey, I think the best thing about this is Impact has one of the most underrated women's divisions in professional wrestling, and I am all for some ladies matchup. Jordynne Grace versus Nyla Rose. Off the top of my head would be a banger. Shida versus Deonna Purrazzo.
That's what that was my second.
Taya Valkyrie versus Thunder Rosa. The clash of the former Lucha Underground alumni. There's a lot of stuff to come, and I think it's just great news for us wrestling fans. But yes, we have to end that long discussion about AEW and NXT. We, of course, what happened?
I said, can I ask a question real fast?
Yeah, of course.
What do you think Vince and them are doing now?
I think Vince Dunn called up the Undertaker and was like, "You really retired? You really retired?"
Can't do shit right now.
No. Vince is calling up Undertaker here saying, "How did you let me talk you into retiring at Survivor Series so that would be the hook for people to watch the show? How did you let me do that to you?" And Taker's just like, I mean, I just do what you tell me to do, man. Like, you wanted me to go on Hot Ones, I went on Hot Ones. You wanted me to do a clothing line with Snoop Dogg, that's what I did. Like, what more do you want? What do you want from me?
What more do you want from me, Vince? But we will talk about that as well. The ratings for last week, the pre-Thanksgiving episodes of WWE, NXT, and AEW. After some confusion, we thought that NXT won by 2,000. Of course, AEW won in the 18-49. Apparently, they tied with 712,000 viewers for the day before Thanksgiving, NXT and AEW. So we should either at the end of this show or at least Tru Heel Heat 103, we will have the ratings and results for this big Winter is Coming and War Games Go Home show. Our other top news story is, of course, back in WWE Backstage Chaos and issues coming out of Survivor Series. WWE Backstage Chaos PW Insider reports that the current creative powers fall in the hands of Vince McMahon and Bruce Pritchard. Many people close to the situation have told PW Insider that Bruce Pritchard is the most powerful person in the WWE other than the McMahon family members. It was added that from a creative standpoint, everything flows through Bruce Pritchard. In fact, for Vince McMahon, Bruce Pritchard's word is considered to be very much the gospel. However, Bruce Pritchard has also given rise to a considerable degree of frustration and heat amongst the talent, which is all because of his position in the company and the decision-making duties that are handed to him. However, this week's episode of Raw did not have Bruce Pritchard in attendance, and Triple H was instead backstage looking after the proceedings. It was noted that having Triple H behind the scene was a breath of fresh air for many people. It was additionally reported that Shane Helms, aka the Hurricane, returned to the company to work on last week's episode of Raw. He was recently rehired as a backstage producer after being furloughed in April. Former Impact Wrestling star Sanjay Dutt also was moved to work as full-time employee for the NXT brand. It was also reported that the recent Raw Underground talent Dabba-Kato and Arturo Ruiz were at the recent Raw tapings, but WWE decided not to use them. The general feeling backstage is that the company still believes that the superstars mentioned above need more seasoning before being incorporated into the Raw roster as full-time members. It was also noted that there was plenty of backstage unrest and frustration regarding the opening segment to Raw with Randy Orton, Alexa Bliss, and Bray Wyatt, with people feeling that the angle needed more work, but it was 100% McMahon's vision. Also, the script for Raw came in about 25 minutes before the start of the show this week, and there's also been a lot of issues with WWE officials being reprimanded for missing time cues at WWE Survivor Series, as well as the aforementioned tapings since then. So what are your guys' thoughts on Bruce Pritchard being the most influential non-McMahon in WWE right now? It's not anything new. He's been given the ball for creative after the firing of Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff on Raw and SmackDown, and he kind of runs both shows. But what do you think about the whole frustration with Bruce Pritchard at the current moment? Krssi Luv?
This is nothing new. I mean, Bruce Pritchard's always had this like power or whatever. So this is not news to us. Like, he's been one of Vince's like right-hand men for a long time with these shows and like writing the storyline. So this is not new information for us. However, people being upset and now feeling away, and now they probably want to voice their opinion, is probably something that's maybe more new or more of a thing for people to say, you know what, I don't like what's happening. And people are now probably having like more of a leg to stand on, or maybe not since they fired Zelina Vega and because she spoke up. So who knows? Maybe they're not going to speak up. I don't know, but I'm not surprised that Bruce. The stories are still the same. Nothing has really changed. I don't see much of an impact of what he has done so far, because everything is still written and still going in the flow. So.
Good point right there. StatKing, do you think that Triple H would bring some stability to WWE creative, being that, right now, I think it's about 75 to 80% of the roster come from NXT, where Triple H was kind of the papa. He's the papa of NXT, and he's kind of like a stable force for a lot of the talent. So what do you think? Would he bring some stability that Bruce Pritchard is not giving to the roster?
I think he would bring some stability in the sense that, to your point, yeah, they do know Triple H. They know how to speak to Triple H, and they know how Triple H relates to them. I think he would be able to help in that regard, but I don't know how much stability he can really bring when shows are being written 25 minutes before airtime. That's just, especially because any of these performers, when they're moving from NXT to Raw, NXT, for whatever negative things it may have, one thing that has always been a positive is a clear vision. They know where they're going months in advance. Now, granted, you have wrenches being thrown, such as Killer Cross's injury or Finn Balor's injury, and the different things like that. But they know for the most part where the destination is. So to have that shift. Yeah, I guess maybe having the same person to talk to, the same face, the same, that personality would help. But I don't know. I think it would maybe just be a Band-Aid over a much larger problem for Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue too much with that. It's kind of disconcerting that this is happening at the end of the year as we approach WrestleMania season. So we will have to see how they can kind of recover this all, if Vince and Bruce Pritchard can make the superstars happy again, because we heard about their frustration during the early parts of the pandemic. It got a little bit better, especially on the SmackDown side when Roman Reigns came back and being that locker room leader and being a driving force for the ratings going up over there, along with Sasha and Bayley. But it seems like Monday Night Raw is always having this issue, but it has also trickled down to SmackDown recently, with reports of the script coming in late and being rewritten, with Vince McMahon being there. So we will just have to see, and especially with the third-party ban controversy, it doesn't seem like it's a good time to be working in the WWE. So we gotta move on, guys, to what we missed. We missed a lot in the past 2 weeks, but we gotta talk about the big show that happened a couple of, I think about 10 days ago now, WWE Survivor Series 2020. Of course, if you wanted the full rundown of that great show, we had a great pay-per-view roundtable with the good brothers Romeo Anthony Colon, Chris G, the Roundtable Rebel, 3-time baby-making champion Ness, and our newest contributor to the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel, Richie Moon. So definitely check that out if you want a full recap of that great show. But we had Roman Reigns defeated Drew McIntyre in a tremendous main event matchup with the help of Jey Uso. Team Raw men swept Team SmackDown men. The first time there was a sweep in the Survivor Series traditional match since 2006 with Team DX. Team Raw women defeated Team SmackDown women, with Lana being the sole survivor in anticlimactic fashion. And of course, SP3, I put my foot in my mouth because I predicted Bianca Belair, but then I said, yeah, but it'll probably be Lana winning by doing nothing. And you
said that, and that's exactly what happened. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So is that a Bruce a brainchild of Bruce Pritchard?
I think this is the brainchild of Vince. He thinks that Lana could be the next big baby face, apparently.
By doing nothing?
By doing nothing? Like...
I don't know. Me and Me and Krssi Luv were correct when we predicted the Street Profits to defeat the New Day in a really good matchup. One of my favorite matchups of the entire card.
Yes. Yep.
We also had Sasha Banks defeat Asuka, Lashley beat Sami Zayn, and of course, there was The Undertaker's Final Farewell, which clocked in at 45 minutes. Yes, 45 minutes, entrances and all. But we did get a holographic Paul Bearer, so that was a nice touch. Any highlights? I know, StatKing, you are not the biggest follower of WWE, but any highlights that stood out from you if you saw from Survivor Series?
I didn't watch, but from a results standpoint, it is interesting to see another horsewoman finally conquer Asuka, or at least get a singles victory against her, because I don't think Sasha Banks had a singles victory over Asuka until Survivor Series. So
clean one, no.
Yeah, clean one, no. So that I liked, and the clean sweep I think is interesting. That's something you don't see very often, obviously. So that's something unique, considering they then had in the women's Survivor Series match somebody be a sole survivor by doing nothing. So
gotta love it. Anything that stood out the most to you, Miss Krssi Luv?
Oh yeah, that they made Lana win. Foolishness when Bianca Belair performed her ass off. So I call it crap. I was very, very upset about the whole thing. I was like, how do you? And then we have Survivor Series. We're not even calling the score. Nothing counted. It's like, what kind of Survivor Series is this? Like, you have the women. I mean, the men get swept, which you guys called it. Said they would win anyway, but still, nevertheless, it was. I don't know. The great Drew and Roman match, I thought that was great. The Street Profits and New Day, wow. I mean, we called it. We said it was going to be like probably match of the night. So shout out to us. I didn't like the whole finish. And the women's match would have not been bad if it wasn't for the stupid finish.
Yeah, I think the ladies worked hard.
The ladies were better than the men, to be honest.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you if you thought that, but they were just let down by that finish. I mean, I can praise though Roman and Drew, one of the best main events of the entire year, probably Roman's best in-ring performance of 2020. Story-wise, of course, those was the Jey Uso matches, but in-ring wise, as far as work in the ring, this was more of a traditional WWE style main event and one of Drew's better matches of the year as well. So definitely a lot of credit goes out to those guys. And
the fact that they even wrestled at WrestleMania, I was like, they did? And I was there.
You didn't even remember, of course.
I didn't remember because this match was so much better. So,
Well, don't worry. Our good brother, Top Guy JJ, only remembers 25 minutes of the show, and he called it the top 10 greatest WrestleMania of all time. Yeah, but anyway, we gotta move on to New Japan Pro Wrestling Best of Super Juniors 27 and World Tag League 2020. We are going down the final stretch of shows. Only about two more regular block matches, nights ahead for both tournaments before we get to the finals on December 11th. We will do a full preview of the finals next week on Tru Heel Heat 103. But the Best of the Super Juniors, you got Yuri Uemura at 0-7, 0 points. He is already eliminated from the tournament. Of course, he's a young lion, so we don't expect anything less. Dookie is 1-6 with 2 points. He was eliminated as well. Robbie Eagles, who has been one of the MVPs of this entire tournament, Rasuke Taguchi, both stand at 3-4 with 6 points. Both are eliminated. And now we have the final 6 who are still in contention, which is Bushi and Master Wato at 4-3 with 8 points. El Desperado, Taiji Ishimori, Sho, and Hiromu Takahashi all stand at 5-2 with 10 points. So 2 more block matches in the Best of the Super Juniors. Should be interesting to see who comes out of that one. I know me and Krssi Luv predicted Hiromu Takahashi to win the tournament. How about you, StatKing? Who is your choice to win the Best of the Super Juniors?
I thought Hiromu probably was going to be winning when I looked at the kind of the events of the matches, and he's consistently in the main event each night, despite the fact that the the junior champion is Ishimori. That felt a little weird, but I think that Sho is another potential candidate simply because of the temporary split or hiatus of Yo when it comes to Roppongi 3K, so maybe he's got a shot as well, but definitely leaning Hiromu.
Yeah, I mean, Sho has definitely been showing out. He's just a great baby face, and he has a great look. He's young, so he has a great potential. And I think my prediction for the finals is going to come down to Sho and Hiromu in the end. World Tag League 2020 action: Tori Hanare and Hiroshi Tanahashi stand at 1-6 with 2 points eliminated. Once again, shitting on the ace. Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens stand at 2-5 with 4 points. Evil and Yujiro Takahashi stand at 3-4 with 6 points. The Gorillas of Destiny stand at 4-3 with 8 points. Great Okan and Jeff Cobb, as well as Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi, and Juice Robinson and David Finlay, as well as the LIJ duo of Sanada and Shingo Takagi and Dangerous Tekkers also stand at 4-3 with 8 points. And our leaders are Tomohiro Ishii and the king of pro wrestling himself, Toru Yano, standing at 5-2 with 10 points. Yes. I think also this one, me and Chrissy predicted the Gorillas of Destiny to be in the finals and win this one. But what about you, StatKing? Who is your choice to win the World Tag League?
Leaning LIJ, but I would definitely agree as well with GOD, simply because you got it. That's a great way to work them back into the mix. So GOD for sure for me.
Yeah, I mean, LIJ is probably my favorite duo. I think I also mentioned that with Sanada and Shingo, probably two of my favorite performers in New Japan. So it should be interesting with both of those teams in the running, as well as a bunch of other teams, as I just named off. SmackDown had Roman tearing a new one into Jey Uso for helping him against Drew McIntyre, which leads to Uso laying out Otis and Daniel Bryan on the show. He cost Daniel Bryan his match with Sami Zayn on the show by countout. Then Kevin Owens beat down Jey Uso with a steel chair to set up a match with Roman Reigns. And then if you haven't seen it on Talking Smack, we had a great segment with Kevin Owens and Paul Heyman cutting promos on each other. Chef's kiss. Great stuff.
Another set of goosebumps again, guys. I'm just saying, like, they would... It's like they were having like a regular conversation, but like legit real. Like they didn't have to rehearse it. Like, you know, it just flowed so effortless, you know, if that makes sense. Like it just like, it was just like, wow. Like I seen that, I was like, what am I seeing right now? You know what I'm saying? Like it was so good. And he praised Bianca Belair as well.
First time in a while that Kevin Owens felt like a main eventer again on the main roster. So I'm always for that. Big Kevin Owens fan, and I love seeing him in this spot. Bayley and Bianca Belair, speaking of her, they set up a feud on the show as well. The Mysterio family, I guess teased that they're going heel by helping Murphy defeat Baron Corbin. This is your domain, Krssi Luv, but what was your thoughts on that?
I'm happy that you said that, because I'm sick of them already. Like I was sick of the whole feud. I'm just over the whole Mysterio thing.
But isn't Baron Corbin a heel?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So helping Murphy to be okay.
What I'm saying is I'm sick of it. Like this is ridiculous. Like, who is doing this to us? Someone is doing this on purpose, and I need them to stop. Seriously.
Bruce Pritchard.
It has to be, because I'm not getting it. And then oh my God. And Rey Mysterio and his family got a lot of damn money, because every time I come in, they got like Versace, Louis Vuitton. They are like down to the socks. Like he is like label whores all over their clothing. You don't have a regular shirt? Like
in the words of a great podcaster, Conrad Thompson, who booked this shit, Bruce?
Yo!
Ray's been saving a lot of money by being able to shop in like the children's section for many years. So all that money like that, he saved that up. He spent it on your kids.
Can't say that's a lie at all.
That whole family, like, I'm sick of it. Okay, go.
Monday Night Raw, we had AJ Styles defeat Keith Lee and Riddle in a triple threat to set up a match versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE title at TLC. We also had McIntyre and Sheamus beat Miz and Morrison by disqualification after Miz pushed the Sheamus slow burn turn on McIntyre on Miz TV. We also had Asuka and Lana defeat Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, the first time those two ladies, twice, 2 weeks in a row, first time those ladies have got a loss in tag team action, the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. And also Randy Orton revealed on A Moment of Bliss that Alexa Bliss is the Fiend's weakness. So that was an interesting segment, as we talked about before. A lot of backstage heat concerning that. Krssi Luv, though, what is your thoughts on AJ versus Drew at TLC?
I'm sure it will be a good match. I don't see AJ winning, unfortunately, because, yeah, I mean, I'm sure it'll be a good match, but I mean, I got nothing for you, friend. I got nothing.
She's like, it's just gonna be a good match,
right,
I guess.
I don't see any feuding. I don't see that's just what it is. I mean, the triple threat match they had was pretty cool. But other than that, I mean, AJ getting picked up by his bodyguard and then being rescued out was funny. I thought that was cool. But yeah, him and Drew, it's just gonna be a good match. But I definitely see, maybe it'd be like a dirty finish. Who knows? I'm not sure. Maybe Miz might come out and mess it up. Who knows? Something to make us watch TLC, I guess. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the Miz's Money in the Bank is still going to be a part of this story for sure. But I think on Wrestling Daily, I think Louis as well as Alex both were talking about AJ versus Drew being a WrestleMania match. On paper, yeah, they can have a great match that is worthy of WrestleMania, but there's no story. That was my whole issue, and that's why I kind of argued against them when they were talking about that. I was like, no, I was like, I kind of taught Krssi on this on Tru Heel Heat. You got to put on your Vince hat, and if there's no story there, I don't see Vince making that a WrestleMania match, guys. So I think that
I'm not feeling nothing from it. So that's why I got nothing for you, friend. Like you said, how I feel. I don't feel anything.
And they're not going to probably help with that. But Sheamus and Drew, I think, is the main story, and that's something that has meat on the bone, that if they... Patience, please. I know that's not your forte, Bruce. We can probably talk to your wife about your patience and pre-ejaculate. I mean, whatever you guys do at home. But come on, just have patience on here. Slow burn it, foreplay it a little, tickle it, and get to the good stuff when we get to WrestleMania season. We don't need to see it right now. You also got Braun Strowman, who got injured, who was supposed to be the challenger for Drew at TLC. Maybe he's going to be the challenger for Drew at the Royal Rumble, but the Sheamus Drew have a story that could develop and blow off at WrestleMania. So I think that's the way to go there.
Sheamus is a former, headliner and one of the champions a long time ago. So maybe, he has the potential. He can definitely do it with a great build-up. I'm sure he can be back of one of those top guys again. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. And if we're going to believe the rumors, he doesn't have that much time in the ring with his neck issues, that this could be like his final big time and a big time matchup with someone that he's kind of grew up in the business with, in Drew McIntyre, with their friendship, their real life friendship. So I think this has a lot of potential there. We also missed Impact Wrestling, which had Jazz and Jordan Grace defeat Renee Michelle and Killer Kelly. Yes, Jazz, the former WWE Women's Champion, is in Impact Wrestling with Jordan Grace. They advanced in the Knockouts Tag Team title tournament. We also was revealed last week that Lawrence D, the alter ego of Larry D, was the man who shot John E. Bravo, and he furthered a feud with Tommy Dreamer this week. Luke Gallows was also revealed as being injured for 4 to 6 weeks, so Carl Anderson will face Ethan Page at Final Resolution. If Paige wins, the North get a title shot. Willie Mack defeated Chris Bay in a surprise, in my opinion, but Moose attacked Willie Mack after the match, and then Chris Bay hits the ultimate finesse on Swan to set up a Final Resolution world title matchup, which I predicted, StatKing, on your 1 year anniversary. Chris Bay versus Rich Swan at Final Resolution. What stood out the most on this episode to you, StatKing?
I liked Jazz and Jordan Grace, that match, simply because it's good to see the powerhouses like that. I mean, we talked about it on the 1 year anniversary, what they're going to be able to bring to that tag title tournament for the knockouts. And then the other thing that stood out to me was just seeing Motor City Machine Guns back in action. That'll be something that's good for down the road against the Good Brothers. And
another AEW versus Impact matchup I want to see. Young Bucks versus Motor City Machine Guns, and we got a preview of that on this week's episode, as the flashback was from Final Resolution 2010, where they showed Generation Me versus the Motor City Machine Guns. So the seeds to AEW and Impact were right before our eyes without us realizing.
That was completely unintentional.
Unintentional, right? Right.
Never before have the flashbacks on Impact Wrestling ever alluded to anything that's going to happen on Impact Wrestling.
Yeah, it's not like we saw flashbacks of like Eric Young before he returned. It's not like we saw any of that stuff. What am I talking about? I'm talking nonsense. It's not like anything big happened on Wednesday nights either. So yeah.
The friend, you know.
I'm just shooting the shit here. But final note of what we missed: MLW Fusion. MLW is back. We had Low Key defeating Davey Boy Smith Jr. In the Opera Cup tournament, which was more of an upset in the main event. ACH also defeated Laredo Kid in the Opera Cup on this week's show. And Court Bauer announced after the show that Davey Boy Smith Jr. has finished up with MLW. So it's going to be very interesting to see where Davey Boy Smith Jr. lands next. Will we see him back in WWE? Maybe potentially in NXT UK? Davey Boy Smith Jr. versus Volta? I'm all for that. Maybe we might see him in Impact Wrestling, maybe AEW. So it'd be very interesting to see where the son of the British Bulldog lands next. Our news rundown is up next, guys. Let's run through some news. I'll get a little bit of your thoughts on a couple of these news notes. WWE News Fightful Select reports that a top NXT superstar recently tested positive for COVID-19. Currently, the identity of this talent is unknown, but it's said that the concern around this talent was not as heavy as the previous talents involved for the most recent outbreak, where multiple people tested positive. Also, this talent was described as a top star for the brand. Per the report, the talent who tested positive is said to not be in large crowds very often, especially when it comes to NXT. Additionally, the status of this talent is not going to impact NXT TakeOver War Games schedule for this weekend. Krssi Luv, I'm going to ask you your thoughts, and who do you think is the top talent? I hate to speculate about things like this, but from this report, what I just said, I tend to feel like it might have been our NXT champion, Finn Balor.
That he had tested positive?
Because it says that this superstar has not been on NXT that much, has not been in very large crowds, and it's not going to impact War Games, which doesn't have an NXT title match. So that's what makes me think that's the only top star that I can think of off the top of my head that's not on the show, that hasn't been on the show, that may have been the one affected here.
That's actually a good one right there. He was out on injury, so he could have maybe caught it outside.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that is true, because they had everyone on stage last night as well, so maybe he didn't. I don't know. Did he catch it before and now they're good, or this was just like speculation that it happened?
I don't know if he tested positive at the PC and where they tape, or if he tested positive outside, but the report from Fightful Select is that a top star for NXT has tested positive. With whoever it is, we wish them the best, hope they get well for sure.
Maybe it's Cross. Maybe he caught it.
He's another one that hasn't been on TV. Is a top star. So yeah, we hate to speculate about this type of thing. We just hope that they're gonna be better coming out of this. WWE is set to move to Tropicana Field. We talked about this on the last Tru Heel Heat in December, leaving their residency at the Amway Center. While it has been reported that the final night for the ThunderDome would be SmackDown on December 4th, which is this week, it will actually be Raw on December 7th, which is next Monday. They will go directly from Orlando to Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg for the December 11th SmackDown, which is next week. And it was also noted that the Tropicana Field presents possible problems for WWE. First of all, the stadium is huge and the sound is described as awful, but since WWE has been piping in crowd noise, they will be able to control that. And there is also reportedly a colony of pigeons that will live in the roof of the venue. So very interesting times for WWE. Of course, also WrestleVotes reports that internally WWE is said to want a decision on whether fans are permitted for the Royal Rumble by January 7th, with a possible announcement of sorts coming that weekend. Sources state that odds are 50-50 right now, an important month ahead, and possibly the pushback for Royal Rumble, the date is going to be now January 31st. Off the top of your head, very quickly, what does your gut say, StatKing? Are we going to have fans at the Royal Rumble?
I don't think so, no.
Good. This man is from the Florida area, so he was the best one that acts there.
One quick question though: do pigeon in the rule book of wrestling, does an attack by pigeons constitute a disqualification?
I gotta look up the rule book. Any referees that watch Tru Heel Heat, help us out. Comment in the comment section and let us know if a pigeon attack is considered disqualification.
I'm here for it though. And pigeons.
Yeah, we're all new. We all have either lived in New York or are New Yorkers, so yeah, we do not have a great history with pigeons. Fightful Select notes that the original creative plans for virtually everyone at the top of Raw roster shifted following Braun Strowman's injury that forced WWE officials to put the mini tournament together to determine McIntyre's challenger, with Styles, Lee, and Riddle all involved. Because of the necessary changes that reportedly forced several other Raw storylines involving the top talents to be adjusted from anywhere between 1 to 3 weeks. So like I said, if Strowman is back, he will possibly be the next challenger for Drew coming out of TLC, probably for the Royal Rumble. So it's a wait and see, but I knew that this would kind of affect things, and probably AJ was going to be the challenger for the Royal Rumble, and now it's been pushed up to TLC. So we will see what happens at the top of the card. WWE also announces the return of the Slammy Awards in WWE on the WWE Network sometime in December. We will also see a Keith Lee 24 special. Krssi Luv, who is your WWE Superstar of the Year? Real quick. Huh?
Bianca
Belair. Whoa. If you were going to say a woman, I would have gone with Sasha Banks or Bayley. But
okay. All right, I'll take it back. For the year, because Bianca wasn't there the whole time. Okay,
exactly.
Let's go with Bayley. Bayley should definitely win.
That's a good one. I was going to go with Drew McIntyre, but Bayley is definitely a candidate that's up there for sure. WWE reports the new PC recruits class has been announced and has arrived, which includes Alex Zane, as well as Desmond Xavier and Zachary Wentz of the Rascals, but no Trey Miguel. What is your thoughts on Trey Miguel not being included in the PC recruits, StatKing, and do you see him eventually signing with WWE and joining the rest of the Rascals?
I don't know. I really hope that he doesn't. But everybody's got to do what makes sense for them and makes sense for their families. So if he does, he does. But I hope that he doesn't. I was honestly surprised when we saw that picture and Trey was not there, but both of the other two members of the Rascals were. It just adds another emotional layer to that final match that the Rascals had with Rich Swann at Impact. I mean, they were, it was a very emotional moment. They were crying in the ring, and you were just like, wow, like just the thought But at the time, we're thinking all three of them are going to WWE, not realizing that it's a very distinct possibility that that was actually the end of the Rascals themselves as a trio. So I don't know whether he will be, whether it could be something that they see bigger things for Trey than they do for Dez and Wentz, and so they are saving him for a shot in the crowd, so to speak, at NXT Takeover War Games. Maybe that's what they're saving him for. We'll see. But it was definitely interesting.
What you said?
I knew something was wrong with the count because I was like, wait, ain't it supposed to be like an extra person? I was like, where somebody's missing. I couldn't really put my finger on it. I was like, okay, well, I mean, they're just showing like just the new people, but I was like, something is wrong here with these recruitments. But now it makes sense.
Yes, I even speculated on Wrestling Travel Podcast as well as two people with Sportskeeda that it could be potentially that he is the Warrior Wrestling Heavyweight Champion right now. Maybe he has to take care of independent engagements and obligations that he has before he comes on to WWE. My gut says that he will eventually join them in WWE, but there is a possibility he could possibly go to AEW and he can play a huge role in this AEW versus Impact storyline and crossover, kind of being maybe a guy who signs with AEW, but all along he's a secret agent of Impact Wrestling and he's the mole that's been trying to infiltrate AEW from within. So there's a lot of potential there for Trey Miguel that would be fun.
No. That's Ethan Page with his contract situation. Come on now.
That is another good shout. There is so much potential.
I got to put over Ethan whenever I get a chance. So.
This is an all AEW Impact episode. It's definitely a part of the title if you're watching this right now. So we move on to AEW news. Tony Khan had a conference call with media, limited media, ahead of Winter is Coming and announced, among other things, Jon Moxley will not be performing at Wrestle Kingdom 15. So him losing the AEW World title does not mean that he's going to do quarantine in Japan now to go perform at New Japan Pro Wrestling Wrestle Kingdom 15 in January, which should be probably put in limbo if he's going to continue as the IWGP US champion. So we're going to keep you posted on that news right there. Plans to make AEW Dark the home of the StatKing into two shows, one for established and signed talent and one for young up-and-coming stars. Kenny Omega was apparently hands-on with the presentation of the Cleaner character and the Eliminator tournament that concluded at Full Gear, and Tony Khan has big plans for Miro and didn't want to wait until January where he can really put him into the main event scene to bring him in, and he was very critical of Miro's use in WWE. I want to ask StatKing about the AEW Dark news. I know we talked about this on your 1 year anniversary. I think I was one of the people that brought it up about possibly making Dark into two shows. So what would your thoughts be if they made that move?
I think it would be a really good decision. For a long time, they have, because of the pandemic, gotten away from that AEW contracted talent versus AEW contracted talent. Now, if they're able to kind of make a better blend of everything, I think that'll be really good. With two shows, they will have, I don't know, maybe they have kind of the field of, one of my first thoughts was the never open weight titles. And maybe there would be something like that, some kind of almost NXT developmental kind of aspects to one of the shows. So I want to see how they do all that, because thus far they've been able to do presentation of shows pretty well, whether it has been Dynamite and then establishing what Dynamite is, what it's going to be week to week, the pecking order and as such. And I definitely want to get back that Dark quality of, once upon a time, as I said last week on the anniversary show, we had Kip Sabian versus Kenny Omega on AEW Dark. So maybe if we get back to that, that'll also be really cool. So definitely looking forward to what they try out.
And if they're going to split it up into two shows, and one being the main show and one being more of a developmental show, the other news that Tony Khan talked about could be a big factor into that he is talking about bringing in trios championships. This is something that Krssi Luv and Top Guy JJ and myself talked about before, the trios titles being introduced. He said that it's not going to be in the end of 2020, but it is something that they have in line for 2021. So I am definitely looking forward to that with so many great trios. You got the Inner Circle, you got Jurassic Express, you got Best Friends and Orange Cassidy, the Elite, the Death Triangle, so many, Eddie Kingston and Butcher and the Blade, so a lot to come from there. Fightful Select reports that the initial reaction to the debut of Sting was shock and excitement, with no one having heard about it until he was backstage, as we said earlier in the show, and has said also that AEW has signed Sting to a multi-year deal. New Japan news, they announced the New Japan Pro Wrestling Road to New Beginning tour, which is going to go on from January 17th and conclude on February 3rd. It is going to be over 11 different shows through those dates, so a lot of action to come from New Japan following Wrestle Kingdom on January 4th and 5th. ROH news. ROH announces that Roosh will go one-on-one with Brody King for the ROH World title, and EC3 will verse Jay Briscoe for Final Battle 2020 on December 18th. Mike Bennett also returned to ROH to save Matt Taven from Vincent and Bateman. How have you been liking the build-up to Final Battle with your new show, Review of Honor, with the Roundtable Rebel and three-time baby-making champion Ness, StatKing?
Yeah, Ness and I have been definitely enjoying the build for Final Battle and seeing how everything is just going to be presented with Ring of Honor coming out of the pandemic. I know that they said also, I think a couple weeks ago maybe, that all titles will be defended at Final Battle, which makes things interesting considering the Foundation leader and the Octopus, Jonathan Gresham, is both pure champion and tag champion. He will have to be pulling some kind of double duty. And I like how they have been building everything up. Brody King getting this kind of singles push, this singles run, just not really mentioning Villain Enterprises, but mentioning Villain Enterprises, and everything that's connected with that. But We'll go into more detail when you guys join us on Review of Honor, because I'm sure there's many thoughts that Ness himself would want to add in, and he's not here with us. So you guys will have to tune into Review of Honor to continue to see how ROH is building out everything coming out of the pandemic.
He's a man of great adjectives. Great adjectives for sure. Impact Wrestling news. Scott D'Amore announced that Ken Shamrock is suspended after his attack on D'Lo Brown last week. And our final wrestling news notes, NWA, another home of the StatKing, on Tuesdays. They have started their new weekly TV series, which will be known as NWA Shockwave. The first week was more or less replays of matches that they featured on Primetime Live, but we're going to see if they have some new content coming on Tuesday nights with NWA Shockwave. And NWA Director of Operations Maureen Tracy has exited the company. She got a lot of praise on social media from Ricky Starks for being the lifeblood of NWA. So sad to hear her departing, but hope everything is well with her. And then our final segment, guys, NXT TakeOver War Games this Sunday, December 6th. It is a 5-match card once again. Of course, this is War Games, so we have the 2-ring steel cage, the trademark of NXT when it comes to their yearly takeover pay-per-views. This has kind of been one of the shows that most NXT fans are looking forward to. We're going to start from the bottom of the card and work our way to the top. We have Timothy Thatcher going one-on-one with Tommaso Ciampa. These two men started their rivalry just a couple of weeks ago, with Ciampa confronting Timothy Thatcher, getting upset with the Thatch Can displays in the ring, with him beating up the younger talent. Tommaso Ciampa has said he's going to take a stand against the wannabe tough guys in the locker room, and the first person that he's taken that stand against is Timothy Thatcher. As we talked about this week on NXT, Thatcher laid out Ciampa with a chokehold to lay him out thanks to his help from his new student Russ Tyler, or Tyler Rust. They just traded places. And another person from Ring of Honor that StatKing might remember, Russ Taylor, was a part of that new PC group. So who do you think wins this one? Timothy Thatcher one-on-one with Tommaso Ciampa. We will start with you, Miss Krssi Luv.
I want to go see the way things ended on NXT. I want to say it would be Thatcher being put over by Ciampa. I'm gonna go with Thatcher.
Gonna go with Thatcher. I think this would be his first takeover win, so not a bad call. Not a bad call at all.
But I think I'm gonna go with that.
All right, StatKing, who you got, Thatcher or Ciampa?
I'll go with Thatcher as well, as somebody who, as you said, hasn't had a takeover win yet, and Tommaso Ciampa kind of seems like not a great stepping stone. I don't want to use that term, but he seems somebody who is a person to get past, and we saw that with Killer Cross and Ciampa on the way for Cross to bigger and better things. So I think Thatcher, this is a great way to establish Thatcher as somebody to follow in NXT.
This is an interesting one to do predictions on because Thatcher had the significant loss to Kushida 2 weeks ago where he tapped out for the first time. So I think he definitely needs the win here, but because of how things ended off on this week's NXT with Thatcher laying out Ciampa, I go by the rule of whoever has the upper hand on the go-home show loses at the pay-per-view. So I am going with Ciampa to get the victory here, and this would be Ciampa. This would be Ciampa's first win on a takeover in 2020. He's lost against Adam Cole on takeover. He lost against Karrion Kross on takeover. He had the big loss against Johnny Gargano. So he's coming off a bunch of big losses himself. So I think he's going to get the win here.
Okay.
Next up, we have a strap match between Dexter Lumis, of course, one of Krssi Luv's favorite, and Cameron Grimes. Take him straight to the moon. But I'm just going to get this out and open right now. I hate this fucking feud. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's not produced not one good or really good matchup. This peaked at Halloween Havoc when they had the haunted house match with all the fucking zombies. And when zombies is the peak of your feud, there's an issue. There's a problem that this shit should have ended there and it shouldn't have continued. And it has more or less formed. I have to give a shout out to one of our former guests of Wrestling Daily, Stephanie Chase. She said on that show that this is basically a bondage storyline full of blindfolds and straps, and I'm not with it. I don't like it, and stalking as well. So I'm not with it. I don't like this shit. Dexter Lumis is a good character, but I've said it multiple times on this show. He's not a good babyface. He should not be the babyface here. Cameron Grimes has been trying his best to kind of maintain this whole story and be the star. He is very charismatic, but I'm over this feud. Please let it end here. But Dexter Lumis is probably gonna win here. Who do you got, StatKing?
I don't really watch NXT, so I'm gonna go with Dexter Lumis. But just run that back for a second. There were zombies in a match.
Yeah, you missed friends.
Nothing
to look at, but it was zombies. You don't have to go and watch the match. We'll save you the time. It wasn't really that. It was good when they were inside of the house. Once they left the house, it got really stupid and bad. So there were zombies that came into the ring and it had a whole bunch of like smoke and whatnot. It was a really, really bad movie scene that someone just like probably just threw together. But then zombies came out and then attacked him, and then there you go. That's all you need to know.
Sid, did Romeo like it?
Probably.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
He likes anything with Cameron Grimes most of the time, but yeah, and I think I called him out in one of the chats that we share together, and I was like, "Your boy is in a bondage storyline," and I don't know if you remember, but Romeo didn't even respond to my comment. Like he just quickly moved on. But yes, yeah, watch Wednesday Night Warriors and hear what Romeo has to say about this whole storyline. I'm sure he's rooting for Cameron Grimes, but I am just over this story. But who you got, Miss Krssi Luv? Grimes versus Loomis in a strap match.
I'm sick of this whole feud as well. I could have swore we had the strap match already, but we're doing it again. And right, we're doing it again, and we're making him be the stalker of the two people. Like, I'm so confused, but I'm just, I'm going to pick my guy, of course. I like Cameron Grimes. I think he's hilarious, but I'm ready for him to be a heel and go fight someone else.
Yeah, he is someone that should have been in the title scene, especially like the North American Championship. I think he should have had like a takeover type matchup for the NXT North American title, but I digress. We move on to the NXT North American title match on this show, as it's going to be the champion Leon Ruff defending against the former champions Damian Priest and Johnny Gargano in a triple threat matchup. This whole feud started more or less at the last takeover where Priest defeated Gargano. Gargano then defeated Damian Priest to become the first ever two-time North American champion at Halloween Havoc. The following 2 weeks later, Gargano wanted to break his curse because he's never been able to successfully defend any of the titles he's had in NXT, the main championship, the North American title, or the tag team titles. He is the new Sasha Banks or Tetsuya Naito, whoever you prefer, and who both broke their curse. But apparently Gargano couldn't break his curse, and he lost to who was a guy that was on like a long losing streak as a jobber, but recently signed a contract with NXT and WWE, Leon Ruff. Leon Ruff got the victory due to a distraction from Damian Priest and became the champion. It was more or less used as a joke in that first week, but I will say they've done a good job of recovering it. Leon Ruff has played a very likable underdog babyface over the last couple of weeks. Very wholesome, and you want to root for him. You want him to succeed. Damian Priest has kind of been more or less a tweener in this story, and Johnny Gargano being the heel, teasing that he's going to get help from the Ghostface Killers, the Scream Mask Killers on NXT this week. But who do you see winning this triple threat match? Ruff versus Priest versus Gargano. I'll start with you, Miss Krssi Luv.
Ooh, see, this is another hard one, I feel. I'm thinking that this feud is not going to be over. I feel like it's still going to go on. I'm thinking, but more so with Ruff and probably Gargano. Not Priest. Like, let's get Damian Priest out the equation and put Gargano and this young guy to, have a feud against each other. So I'm going to go with Ruff winning, but more so to have the feud continue with Gargano, him being the heel.
StatKing?
I think it depends on what WWE knows about this mystery person who has COVID. If it is Finn Balor, I think maybe they want, and they don't know when Finn Balor will be back. Maybe they do put the title back on Gargano because that title automatically becomes the top title for the show, at least while Balor is out of commission and can't defend the title. But I think Krssi is right. Probably just do something between Leon Ruff and Johnny Gargano. So I'll go with Gargano.
I am going to go with Leon Ruff to successfully defend the title. Like I said, I think they've done a good job of recovering him. It was a joke the first week, but they more or less tried to make that a part of his character, and I think it's worked, and it's made me believe that he has a chance to win here. I think Gargano is a good choice. Yeah, actually, I'm going to agree with StatKing, and I'm going to go with Gargano because, like I said, if you succeed on the go-home show, more or less you're going to lose. So he did get the pin on the go-home show, so I'm going with Gargano here to get help from his Ghostface Killers. And now we have the two War Games, the main event matchups. Women's War Games, Team Shotzi has the advantage. Team Shotzi is Shotzi Blackheart, Ember Moon, Rhea Ripley, and the NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai versus Team Candice, which is Candice LeRae, Toni Storm, Dakota Kai, and Raquel Gonzalez. This all started when Candice LeRae destroyed the tank, the signature tank of Shotzi Blackheart that was very close to our heart. I talked about her screaming and distraught over her ruined tank. And yes, and we had the two teams. Team Candice has kind of dominated the build up to this matchup, with Toni Storm turning heel and joining Team Candice, beating down the likes of Ember Moon, Rhea Ripley, and Io Shirai. And this week, Io Shirai became the final member of Team Shotzi, with Shotzi Blackheart defeating Raquel Gonzalez in the ladder match to get the advantage in this one. Strange that the babyfaces have the advantage in a War Games, but I digress there. Who do you have? Team Shotzi versus Team Candice. I will start things off, and I will say Team Candice will get the victory in this one. Even though they've dominated the build-up up until that final show, I just have a feeling that you need to build new challengers for the NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai, and I think that Toni Storm is that next contender for her and should be with their new heel turn. So I think that Team Candice gets the victory with Toni getting the pinfall. Who do you got, StatKing?
I like the argument that you put forward. I'm going to agree with it as well. I don't know if I think yeah, that having somebody in the War Games match be the one who is able to eliminate Io Shirai when she's on a team is going to get somebody ready to be a good contender for her. And Toni Storm is primed, so I'm going to go with Team Candice.
Who do you have, Miss Krssi Luv?
For the simple fact, when they went into the ladder match, I was like, okay, Shanti's team is going to lose and they're going to win War Games. However, with that now happening where she won the ladder match to get the advantage, and now the babyface have the advantage, I'm definitely saying the heels are going to win and Candice is going to win, even though I think Shanti's team is stacked very, very high. And I was like, dang, these girls are going to probably perform their asses off on Sunday. Fingers crossed, I'm hoping. But yes, Team Candice is definitely going to win for sure.
So yes, Team Candice all around in this one, and I think we can all agree that this is the top 8 talent as far as the women's division of NXT in this one, and probably 8 of the best in the entire wrestling world. So this is going to be a great women's War Games. But the men's War Games has a little bit of more storyline juice behind it, as we are going to see the advantage go to the Kings of NXT, Team McAfee, which is Pat McAfee, Pete Dunne, and the NXT Tag Team Champions Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, versus the men that have become the 4 horsemen of the War Games in NXT. Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Roderick Strong, and Bobby Fish, the Undisputed Era. The Undisputed Era will be in their 4th straight War Games matchup. They are the kings of War Games, but they have only won once out of the 3 times they have previously been in War Games, and they have been on a little bit of a losing streak as far as when it comes to Team McAfee. It was Pat McAfee paying off Ridge Holland to attack Adam Cole back at TakeOver 31. Then it was McAfee being responsible for the attacks on Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish, which led to Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch getting their spot against Breezango, which caused them to win the NXT Tag Team Championships thanks to McAfee. And then it was Pete Dunne turning heel by hitting Kyle O'Reilly with a steel chair and joining up with Team McAfee in this one. And of course, it was also Pete Dunne 2 weeks ago who got the win in a great ladder match against Kyle O'Reilly to gain the advantage here. They do have this mystery masked man that helped them, so maybe Team McAfee has a potential 5th member to be involved here, but we will see who wins War Games, Undisputed Era or Team McAfee. We'll start with you, Krssi Luv.
I'm going with Undisputed Era.
Fair choice.
I'm going with them, like you said. They're what you said, 1 and 4.
They're 1 and 2 so far. Three War Games. This is their 4th.
Their 4th. And for the simple fact that Pete Dunne won the ladder match, maybe that fifth member might cause them to lose. But they need that member to be there when Pat McAfee can't be there. So they can have that other person be there as a distraction. So maybe that will be a factor in the thing. But I definitely think Undisputed Era will win.
Who do you have, StatKing?
I'm going to go with Undisputed Era because if you're going to have the heel team win in the previous War Games match, you probably should have the babyface team win in the other War Games match.
Good one, friend.
I'm going to agree with you guys here. I think the Undisputed Era gets the win in this one. I think that in any other place, if it wasn't for this whole build-up, Team McAfee should win. They are the new heel stable. McAfee needs a signature win to kind of establish him as a wrestler, establish him as the leader of this new group. But the Undisputed Era have been the kings of War Games, and the fact that they've only won once, they've never won as this foursome. This foursome is actually 0-2 in War Games. But I just think that it is time for the Undisputed Era to get that big win as baby faces now that they have officially turned and are the top baby faces by default because Finn Balor is not here on NXT. They need this victory here. But it is sure to be a great event, NXT TakeOver War Games this Sunday. But that brings us to a close on another edition of Tru Heel Heat, Tru Heel Heat 102. A plug for our lineup on our Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel and Powered 4 TV. You got coming up, or you can see right now, WWE Survivor Series 2020 pay-per-view roundtable review with Romeo, Chris G, Ness, and our newest contributor, Richie Moon. And you can also check out the new review series, Richie's Raw Recap, as Mr. Moon will review Raw for us on a weekly basis. So shouts out to him. Welcome to the team, sir. The Dark Power 1 year anniversary with our good brother here, the StatKing, along with Ness and myself, is up on the YouTube channel right now. You can also check out the latest True Rewind reviewing Clash of Champions 32, Review of Honor reviewing ROH TV, J News Japan with his coverage of the World Tag League, Best of the Super Juniors, and New Japan Strong. And of course, the Good Brothers on Wednesday Night Warriors is up right now, and an all-new Wednesday Night Warriors with StatKing as a guest star, as well as Dark Power with StatKing, Richie's Raw Recap, J News Japan, Review of Honor with StatKing and Ness, and AE Recap reviewing in depth Winter is Coming, along with me, with Jimmy and Cash on this special episode. All of those will be up either this weekend or early next week. And my special interview for Tru Heel's BTR, my first time interviewing an Emmy Award winner, a sports reporter and wrestling journalist, John Alba. That's going to be up on the YouTube channel next week. And our NXT TakeOver War Games roundtable review will be up at the start of the week as well. And of course, you can check out me on my latest appearance on Alex McCarthy's Wrestling Daily on Wrestle Talks Wrestle 2 YouTube channel, as we have our very latest great debate this time about whether the McMahons on TV is a good thing. Very interesting debate right there. Miss Krssi Luv, tell them where they can find you.
You can find me. I'm Miss Krssi Luv. You can find me on IG, Twitter, and on Facebook, SmackDown Live Lynches, and on Tru Heel Heat.
Of course, and vote for Krssi Luv on Fightful Select. The good brother Sean Rossap is looking for female podcast personalities. I suggested Miss Krssi Luv. She's gonna contact him herself, and it's already the DM is already there, Sean. Vote for Krssi Luv. You need diversity, some colored woman on the podcast. Krssi Luv is your lady, and she's got the spicy opinions, of course. And StatKing, tell them where they can find you.
You guys can find me on the Tru Heels Facebook page. And as always, you can find me covering everything that happens on Tuesdays with, well, not everything anymore, but everything that happens with AEW and the NWA on Tuesdays, and covering Ring of Honor with good friend Ness, my co-host Ness, and just thank you guys again for having me. And just when you talk, Sid, when you talk about that lineup that we have, guys, we have something for every single wrestling fan. Anything that you could possibly think of, we have it covered. So please subscribe, share, like, and check out our shows.
No one is doing it like us.
No one is doing it like Tru Heel Heat. Our diversity. We have African American, Spanish. My good brother here representing all the Indian backgrounds because he's related to everybody from Rahit Raju to Mustafa Ali. We have the diversity on lock. You can see wrestling fans of all different shapes, sizes, and descent on Tru Heel Heat. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are about to hit 1K, less than 140 subscribers away. So come part of the movement. It is going big and we are having fun doing it. On Facebook, you can follow the Tru Heels group page as well as Tru Heel Heat on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can follow our wrestling promotion partners, Battle Club Pro, Warrior Wrestling, and Mission Pro Wrestling on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Our good friends at Wrestling Travel, thank you for sponsoring this episode of Tru Heel Heat. And you can also subscribe to a couple of other great YouTube channels from Battle Club Pro, Warrior Wrestling, Mission Pro Wrestling, Wrestling Travel, of course Wrestle 2 to check out Wrestling Daily with me every Wednesday at 8 p.m. BST, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and Jimmy Macaram's YouTube channel reviewing all the great TV shows. And you can listen to Tru Heel Heat on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Anchor, wherever you listen to your favorite audio podcast. So until Tru Heel Heat 103 for the lovely Miss Krssi Luv, for the man of 1,004 numbers, the StatKing. Like this video, share this with all your wrestling fans and friends, push the iCard down at the bottom to subscribe for all the great content right here on Tru Heel Heat, and of course push that bell to have all notifications so you can always be notified. Signing off for Tru Heel Heat 102, it is me, your Tru Heel Phenom SP3, and we are signing off until next time.